Okay, we are recording. Tonight is the night indeed. Kendon Morris, WOMS News Radio. On the phone with me, he is an absolute legend. He is an icon in the city of Cincinnati. If you follow sports, you've probably heard of this guy. If you listen to any sports radio, you've definitely heard of this guy. He is the one, the only, Chick Ludwig. Chick, I would like to first start off by saying thank you so very much for giving me your time tonight and being here with me. How are you, my brother?
Fantastic, Kendon. Great to be with you tonight. Thank you for that introduction. If you ask any woman that knows me, they would say he's nobody. So that's a little joke to start off the conversation, man. Yeah.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to start where it all started with you. When you were a young boy and the world was much simpler than it is now, what ignited your passion for sports?
Uh, Three things happened at a young age that had a major impact on me. My dad would take me to Crosley Field. This is before GABP. This is before Riverfront Stadium. And he would take me to Crosley Field. He was a Cincinnati firefighter, and he got in free. Okay, so he would buy me a general admission ticket at one window, and I would go in. He'd say, "Now wait here for me. I'm coming back to get you." He would go down to the next entrance, badge his way in, and come and intercept me, and then we would go up the ramps and sit behind in the upper deck behind third base. And one night, I see lights on behind home plate in the upper deck. And I said, "Dad, what's going on up there?" He said, "Those are the sports writers. They get in free." So that started me thinking, yeah, I love that. Okay.
Right.
So when the Bengals were born in 1968, I was 14 years old. Okay. And my Uncle Bob took me to Wilmington College to watch the Bengals in training camp. Okay. And I
Hmm.
see this guy walking the sidelines with a notebook and pen. And I said, "Uncle Bob, what is that guy doing?" He said, "Chick, that's Dick Forbes of the Cincinnati Enquirer. He covers the team." I started following like Dick Forbes around, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gosh, that's something I think I might want to do. So those two things, and I wasn't the greatest athlete at all, but I enjoyed watching the games, and really, like at St. William's School gym, when we were done playing, I'd sit and watch grade school basketball games,
Oh,
like
yeah.
all day, and just thinking about that. And then my eighth grade basketball coach gave me a stack of paperback books, and I would sit on our front porch, looking at the cars go by at West 8th and Rosemont on the west side of Cincinnati, and I would read these sports books, and that got me dreaming of, traveling. I wanted to go places. I wanted to cover a professional team. I wanted to travel, and all I wanted to do was write sports.
That's awesome. That sounds exactly like you, brother. And going a little past that, when you eventually graduated high school and when you got your bachelor's in journalism from OSU, go Buckeyes, by
Yes.
the way. I bleed
Thank you.
scarlet and gray. Um,
Yes.
Absolutely. When you got your bachelor's, I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, the only plan of action for you was to become a sports journalist.
That is correct. I interviewed for some recruiters came through the School of Journalism. Gosh, I almost went to oh my gosh, I forget the paper in Northwest Ohio. Oh, Defiance. There
Yeah,
was
okay.
there was an editor from Defiance there, Defiance Crescent News or the News Crescent, I forget. But I spoke with him and some others, and I really didn't have anything. I even interviewed with Procter and Gamble after graduation, or right during graduation
Right,
time,
yeah.
and I didn't know what job it was with Procter and Gamble. It wound up being the possibility of a coffee salesman in New Jersey.
Oh, you're kidding.
Okay.
You're kidding.
I'm glad I got turned down for that job.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I really didn't have any because I graduated winter quarter. So it was like March of 1976. And I really didn't have anything at that point. So I go back to the country club where I caddied, worked in the pro shop, caddied, and I was basically offered a job as an assistant buyer with McAlpin's department store.
Wow.
Okay. I was, and luckily, right about that time, my professor at Ohio State called me and he said, "Hey, there's a job in Lebanon, Ohio at a weekly called the Western Star, and they're interested in you. And I want you to interview there." And I did. I got the job, $125 a week, lived in a mansion for $10 a week in this mansion in Lebanon. And I covered all of Warren County. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Wow.
Loved it. And yeah, and now one of my jobs is a substitute teacher right now. And I substitute teach in Lebanon. So it's weird how everything kind of comes
Right.
around.
It all kind of goes back full circle. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Small world.
yeah, it started there. I spent 8 or 9 months from June of till February in Lebanon, and then I got a job at the News Herald in Willoughby, northeast of Cleveland. We covered all the Cleveland sports, but I did high schools and went to Cavaliers games, went to Indians games, and was up there 2.5 years. And then the Dayton Daily News hired me in June of 1979.
Yeah, that was 30 years you worked there. That's a lot of time.
Correct.
If you
Yes.
That's a lot of time. So, if you would be so kind, because 30 years, that's no small feat. I would
Yeah.
put a lot more money than I probably should on the fact that you probably have some crazy stories from Dayton Daily. Would you be able to tell us one?
Yeah, let me see here. I covered high schools for 8 years and got to
Right.
cover some great athletes. Chris Carter at Middletown. Well, when I was in Cleveland, I covered Clark Kellogg's career
Oh, there you go.
at Cleveland St. Joe because they played a lot of the teams in that circulation area. So I
Yeah.
got to know Clark really well. And then in Dayton high schools, gosh, Kirk Herbstreit, okay? I covered his career
Wow.
at Centerville High School. And he was on the cover of our high school football preview, okay? So I pick up Kirk at Centerville High School, drive him to Wilmington College for a photo shoot with Boomer Esiason, okay? Yeah.
The
And,
boomer, the quarterback.
and Bill Shepard was our photographer. And while he's getting set up, I'm running pass patterns, and Boomer and Kirk are throwing me the football. Okay.
Wow.
And Boomer asked him, "Kirk, where are you going to college?" He says, "Oh, I don't know yet." And he said, "You got to come to Maryland, man. Come on to Maryland." And so I had Kirk lean up against Boomer's shoulder, and for the photo, and it worked out great. And then Kirk promised me, he said, "As soon as I find out where I'm going to college, you're my first phone call." And lo and behold, on a Friday afternoon, I'm getting ready to leave the office at the Dayton Daily. The phone rings. This is back when we had phones on our desks. Okay.
Yeah,
The
cell phones
phone
were
rings.
not a
I
thing.
pick it up. It's Kirk. He said, "Chick, I told you you'd be my first phone call. I'm going to Ohio State." He was John Cooper's first recruit when John Cooper took over at Ohio State.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
For
So
the last,
that's one story. Um, Let me see. I covered Wright State for 10 years, basically. I was hired as the auto racing writer. So anything that moved by engine in the Dayton area, I covered it. I covered Eldora Speedway. I covered 16 Indianapolis 500s. I would go up to Eldora. I would go over to Winchester, Indiana. Go up to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course up in Lexington, Ohio. So anything that moved by engine, I had to cover it. So, and Here's a crazy story. It's opening day of the NFL season, and my head is in Cleveland and Cincinnati with the Browns and Bengals. Okay, that's where I wanted to be.
Right.
But here I am in Lexington, Ohio, at Mid-Ohio for an IndyCar race that Michael Andretti won. And I just told myself, hey, you got a job to do. You're hired. You're getting paid well. Do the best you can with this situation. So the
Yeah.
thing about being a sports writer is you're not always where, you're told to go somewhere, and that's your job. You have to do it. What news is whatever the boss says it is, and they send you there. And I just had to bide my time, and I eventually got the Bengals beat in 1997.
Yeah, that was the latter 12 years of your Dayton Daily career, if I do
Yes,
believe
my
so.
final 12 years covering the NFL, and then the magic number was age 55 with 30 years in. Okay,
Hmm.
then. And this is like 2009. So there was like a financial crunch, really everywhere. And so they started offering buyouts. I was not eligible for the first one, but I told myself if they offer, there's other stuff I want to do. Okay. And then they came through with a second buyout and included me in it. So I've got a pension, I've got retirement, I've got 401k, the whole nine. And then my separation was in October of 2009. So from 79 to 09.
Yeah.
And then just I had told Dave Yiddy Armbruster, who was our boss he is the iHeartMedia Cincinnati guru. He's the director, the sports director for iHeartMedia Cincinnati. And I would tell him, I'm there, Yid, I'm getting ready to take early retirement from the Dayton Daily News. I get interviewed a lot by radio stations, getting ready for the Bengals' next game.
Hmm.
And I said, if you're ever in a pinch, somebody's on vacation, it's something I'd like to try, the folks seem to like me. And lo and behold, just a few months later, I get a call from Tony Bender at iHeartMedia Cincinnati. Hey, can you fill in for Mo Egger next Wednesday,
Oh,
3
wow.
to 6 on Cincinnati's ESPN 1530? And that's how it all started. And I've been there part-time ever since.
What was your first day like? I've got to hear this.
Oh, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Oh,
I'm
no.
thinking I'm going to get 50 phone calls and entertain the masses with stories
Right.
and everything. Not one phone call.
You're
Not
kidding.
one phone
That
call
is,
in 3 hours. They told me people are listening, but they're not calling. Okay, so I have an opening, and I did have a couple of guests that day, and so oh my gosh, plan A, plan B. You got to have a plan A, B, and C. So
yeah.
I just started yakking, man, just telling stories and everything. Well, Yid, it was taped, okay? So Yid sat me down. He said, Chick, this is good. This is not. Get rid of that. And he kind of critiqued me and got me started that way. And then I told the bosses, hey, I love baseball. So I got to do some extra innings with Doc Rogers before he passed on.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, Doc died of cancer. So he and I were together on weekends several times. And then it just morphed into, me doing a whole bunch of Friday and Saturday nights, of extra innings. And then I always wanted to do Bengals post game with Tim McGee. Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Tim had already had a partner. When that partner left for Columbus after a couple of years, Yid called me and said, do you want to do Bengals post game? I'm there. Yid, you don't have to ask me twice, baby. So
Exactly.
that's what I wanted to do. I love the analysis, the quick analysis of the games, what went right, what went wrong, who did well, who struggled, and
Hmm.
yeah. So what people don't see, everywhere I go, people say, oh, that must be fun. And it is, but it's a heck of a lot of work. And people don't realize when I was writing and covering the Bengals for the Dayton Daily, a 1 o'clock game, we don't leave the press box till about midnight. My
No.
deadlines, the game would end about 4:15 or so. You go down, you do the interviews in the locker room, you come up to the press box, you transcribe your notes. Then I had a game story due at 7:30, a sidebar due at 8:30, and a notebook due at 9:30. And then we all had side gigs. I did 1,000 words for the sporting news after a game. So, yeah, we're all the guys, all the beat writers, man. We were one guy worked for Sports Illustrated. I worked for the Sporting News. Other guys did stuff too, and so and
You were
then
working, is what you're saying. You were you put in
oh yeah,
the hours.
that's right. It's it is fun, but it's a heck of a lot of work. And then you go back on Monday for the open locker room. Tuesdays were players' days off, but there was always a transaction or, a signing or a departure with the
Mm-hmm.
team, just whatever. There was always news on Tuesdays. So you really don't get a day off from the time training camp starts until the Super Bowl. And then you got to start getting ready for the combine, then the draft. And yeah, it just pro football, the NFL is 24/7, 365. You
Speaking
get
of the
two,
NFL,
yeah.
speaking of the NFL, what do you think of the Dexter Lawrence trade for Cincinnati? I
Oh,
woke up
fantastic.
this
Yeah,
like the day I
fantastic.
did not believe my eyes.
Oh, I know. I know. It was a earth-shattering departure from what the Bengals have done in the past. They, yeah, it's a blockbuster, and it broke on Saturday night at like 11:55, and I'm telling the audience on Saturday night that this trade was happening right before we went off the air at midnight
Wow.
Saturday night.
Talk about
Yeah.
timing.
Yes. Yeah. So it's what really helps a broadcaster is when there is news. Okay, when the Reds make a trade or something and you're getting ready to come on the air, and man, you've got news for folks, and that makes it even better.
Right.
Yes.
Now, you work the big one. I hear you so much in the big one. You work ESPN 1530. You work Fox Sports 1360. Is there a station you prefer to actually is your favorite to work?
Well, it's got to be 700 WLW because it's the nation station. That's their nickname.
It's also my
Uh,
favorite station.
Yeah, the nation station from the Empire State to the Golden Gate, it can be heard just on your AM radio in like 40 states in Canada at night. But then with the iHeart radio app, I got calls from Mexico, Alaska, a person called in from Australia after a Bengals game. So
Wow.
it's awesome. It really is when you think about it.
Yeah. Now, you have been a sports journalist for a very long time. I have a question. This is more out of morbid curiosity than anything. You've seen a
Yeah.
lot of Reds baseball, to say the least. You've seen good Reds clubs. You've seen bad Reds clubs. You've seen ugly Reds clubs. In your opinion, what is one Reds team that either went too far, went further than they should have, or didn't go nearly as far as they could have?
You know what? That's kind of a loaded question. Gosh, all I know is that they haven't won a playoff series since 1995, and they
Wow.
beat Los Angeles. And I got to go with Hal McCoy to Chavez Ravine Dodger Stadium in 1995. I got to go out there. I was a test tube baby for the internet. It was called Fastball on the Internet, where my bosses turned me loose. It was a Cox Enterprises initiative, and I was filing stories on the inning, every inning, uh, and sending it into a place in Auburn, Alabama, and then it would go out on the World Wide Web. So I did sports trivia. I would run down, then they'd get quotes and top my story. But I was there when Reds beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in '95. That's the last playoff series that they've won. And
That's so hard to
this
believe,
team
though, because there were
this
a
year,
lot of good Reds clubs.
yeah, 1990. Well, I
Wire to
was in
wire,
college
yep.
when they won back-to-back world championships. I was at Ohio State in 75 and 76. And gosh. Oh, and I got to cover game 3 of the 75 World Series for the Ohio State newspaper, The Lantern.
Oh,
I was
wow.
there.
That's awesome.
It was oh, it was wild. It really was because they didn't really have a spot for me in the press box. I was in an overflow area in like the green seats. And then I had to call in a story. I had to dictate a story back to the Lantern. And I got a pin from that game, a World Series pin from that game that I kind of treasure, man.
Oh,
That
yeah. You have to
from
keep
that
that,
night.
man.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, it was
That's
great.
that's a great experience. Keeping with the Reds theme, I'm sure you've met Marty, and I'm sure you met good old Nuxie. You got any cool Nuxie stories?
You know what? Nuxie and I did uh, oh yeah, when there were times when I was in the clubhouse, and he'd be eating his deviled eggs, in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a book on the Bengals that was published in 2004. Okay, and Greg Horde, who has since passed, Greg did the book on Nuxie, rounding third and heading for home. So Joe Nuxall and I did a book signing together. I forget at what shopping center we were at, but we were there together. My mom came and bought Nuxie's book for all the boys in our family. I've
Oh,
got 3
wow. That's
brothers.
awesome.
Bought that. And my mom and Nuxie are talking food. Okay. My mom and dad would sit on our back porch, screened in porch, listening to Reds games. And my parents would be eating Limburger cheese on rye with onions.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
stinking up the entire neighborhood. And Nutsy said, "Oh man, I love Limburger cheese." Mom and him were talking about Limburger cheese sandwiches on rye and onions. Oh my God, it was
With Joe
awesome.
Nuxall.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, Nutsy, the best,
That's
absolute best.
you can't make that stuff up. Nuxie was such a character. I mean, I remember listening to you remember when Macho Man was in the Reds radio booth?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I got stories. When the banana phone went away, do you remember the banana phone?
I think that was a
Guys
little
would
bit.
call, yeah, they would call in during a rain delay, okay, on
Mhm.
what's called the banana phone. That's just what they called it. It was during a during a rain delay, Marty and Nuxie would take phone calls during a rain delay. And the calls were just so outrageous. A guy's missing his horse on the East Coast
What?
calling in. Uh, Let me see. Oh, Adam Dunn called from the dugout to Nuxie and Marty one night, and tried to disguise his voice and everything. But the banana phone went away, and then we, like me, doing extra innings, we had to be in the studio in case of a rain delay because Marty would only talk for like 5 minutes and then send it back to local programming. So I would have to watch the weather. If there was any threat of rain, my rear end had to be in that studio because I had a couple of close calls because I'm out umpiring, and I
Mhm.
had to hustle into the studio because Marty is, he's only talking for like 5 minutes. We're kicking it back to local programming, and boom, I had to be in the studio for that.
Yeah, I mean that. It you did you ever like doing weather? Were you ever a weatherman by heart or
You know what? No, no.
no?
But thinking about being a TV person, that would have been awesome. I really would have enjoyed that, being a weather guy. I just, if I
You've
had gone
actually
into TV, that's what I would have wanted to do.
you've
Seriously.
segued into another question, a big one that I had for you. being a radio personality and being a television personality, what are the biggest differences in your eyes that people may not
Oh my
understand?
goodness. Wow. You have to, number one, they put, they put this red stuff on your face. I mean, or this, the makeup on your face so that you're not like washed out. And then I just get too nervous when, sitting with the camera on me. It's nerve wracking. It's so different. It
Oh
really
yeah.
is. And you're reading from a teleprompter, and or you're just a live interview, you're just winging it. So, uh, and then there's commercial breaks and everything. Oh, it's with a camera on you as opposed to a camera not on you. I can relax a little bit more, and you can wear anything you want in
Yeah,
the
exactly.
studio.
You can have the
Yeah,
face for radio, and you don't have to worry
that's
about.
exactly right. I've got my blue jeans, and I've got a pullover sweatshirt or a t-shirt on in the studio. You just come in relaxed.
Yeah, that's the way
If
to
it's
do it, man.
TV, you might have to have a tie on and a jacket, which I'm not opposed to, but I would always wear I would always wear a tie and a jacket at the Bengals games,
Yeah.
as a reporter. Yeah.
A little birdie told me a guy by the name of Doug Baines. He's my current instructor. You might know that name, just maybe.
Yes.
Um, he told me that you happen to be a referee for volleyball.
Yes.
How in the world did you go from Dayton Daily News, Bengals beat,
Yeah.
radio on WLW to reffing volleyball?
Okay. Well, when I separated from the uh, newspaper, okay, it like I told my family, I don't want to quit working. I just want to do something different. Okay. So my daughter was a 4-year setter in volleyball, varsity setter at Fenwick High School near Middletown.
Right.
Okay. And so I would be her line judge in grade school and all that. And we would go to some junior Olympic tournaments, and I'd watch the officials. And I just said, you know what? I want to substitute teach when I leave the newspaper. So I got my substitute teacher's license in English and language arts. Then to supplement that, I became a volleyball ref, and I went through my training in Kettering. It was like 6 weeks, and then I started refing in the fall of 2009, and then they told me, if you're going to umpire again, and I umpired in high school and that, you want to do girls fast pitch because there's thousands of girls playing fast pitch softball. It's baseball on 5 cups of coffee.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's a faster game on a tighter field. Okay.
Yeah.
So I became, and I tell kids this all the time when I'm subbing. I said, I was happy as a substitute teacher, volleyball ref, and softball umpire. And then radio happened. So I don't want to give any of it up. So people ask me what I do. They ask my brother Jeff, who's a food broker in Cincinnati, what does your brother do? Ref, teach, talk. That's what he
Ref
does.
speech talk.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm retired with 4 jobs.
there you go. There you go. Ain't that the paradox of the century? All right,
But
brother.
people
I know
ask
your
me all the
time.
time, Chick, do you go to the games? No, I don't. I go to the studio. I watch. We've got, all these exotic, cable stations, and we've got everything in the studio on these big screens, in our studio. So I'm watching the Reds. I'm listening to them on WLW. I'm taking notes, and I've got sponsorship cards to read. So I go to the studio, watch, listen, take notes, and then when the game's over and the post game ends, I come on the air, boom, with guns blazing
There you go, brother.
on on the Kelsey Chevrolet Extra Inning Show,
There
the
you
award
go.
winning.
The
Yeah,
award, right? Yes, you have to put that in there. It is
yeah,
award winning.
yeah,
Do not, do not underthrow yourself. You are an amazing person. I know your time is valuable, and I've only got 2 more questions here. The first one being, what advice could you give to the up and coming journalist or the up and coming broadcaster like myself, to the
yeah,
young guys trying to get into this business who maybe may not have the confidence yet?
yeah. One guy that I like to point to is James Rapine, okay,
Okay.
who writes for Sports Illustrated now. He dramatically improved uh, his social media standing. Okay, he draft expert. Okay, and then he got he was just a producer at WLW, and his knowledge, uh, they allowed him to team with me. We teamed up several times as co-hosts, and then yeah, and he would do Facebook Live. We would preview the show. He would do it on Facebook Live, and man, there'd be hundreds of people clicking. You know, when we were on, and I was kind of the get off my lawn uncle, and he
Right.
was the new millennium
Yeah.
dude and everything. Well, then, so my advice would, and he wound up going to Cleveland and working for radio stations up there as a journalist, basically. And then he got hired by Sports Illustrated and he came back to Cincinnati. Now he's got his own YouTube channel. Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Look at
and
him now.
covering for SI.com. So I would say specialize in one area and become great at it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and improve your social media, man. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Now, I haven't tweeted in a while, and I haven't been on Facebook here in a little while, just because I've been slammed with teaching, umping, and reffing this spring. So I want to ramp that back up. But and then I remember at Ohio State they had an opening at WOSR, the campus radio station. They
Yeah.
had one opening, and about 50 guys show up. They gave me a tongue twisting, one paragraph thing to read that was really difficult, and I didn't, of course I didn't get the job or whatever, but I think back to that and now I'm on 700 WLW.
Ray, you
So,
could not have possibly gone to any further of the other end of the
yeah,
spectrum.
well, and it's because I was the Bengals beat writer for 12 years, and that helped me make the transition to broadcasting. So find a passion with an area that you love, baseball, or maybe it's all of them. Okay, and man, have somebody film you, have somebody put you on YouTube, uh, and call in. Lance McAllister called Bob Trumpy every night. The Godfather, Bob Trumpy, who
Yeah.
started sports talk at WLW. And that's how he started. Then he majored in broadcasting at Butler University in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So Lance had all the training. I really had no training whatsoever. So I'm going on my knowledge of being a Cincinnati native. Fans love it when I talk about neighborhoods and growing up on the West Side, and where there's churches, ball diamonds, chili parlors, and saloons on the West Side.
That's
It's
it,
made up
man.
of four
That's the
things.
way to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. So, but yeah, and then I just told Yid, hey, it's something I'm interested in, and so I would call in the call-in shows. I would jump on any radio station that you can and call in. And God, that's one way to make yourself known. And that's what Lance McAllister did with Bob Trumpy.
And
And
I am a I fully admit that I call into WLW a lot. I love
okay,
everyone there. I love talking to you and Lance and stuff like that. But the last question I'd like to ask, and this is more of an open-ended statement, is there anything
yeah.
you'd like to say before we go? Anything at all?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Kendon, for for taking the interest in this, for being in a broadcasting school, and for taking time out of your busy schedule to interview me. And anything I can do to help you, I'd be glad to. And because I'm trying to pay it forward. I'm giving a couple speeches here in May at I'm the MC at the Price Hill Old Timers Baseball Banquet, and then I'm speaking at the Sacred Heart School 8th grade sports banquet in May in Fairfield. So the beauty of being a sports talk show host, my voice is no longer free.
There you go, man.
That's
And I'm going to
it.
throw that right back at you. I would love to thank you from the bottom of my heart so much for giving me your time and taking time out of your important schedule to be a part of my interview. Chick Ludwig, Ken and Morris, WOMS News Radio.